From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 223 of the Blind Android Users Podcast. We're recording today, Saturday, March the 15th, 2025. Of course, today is just John and I, so we're just bringing the good stuff to you guys. We're just the best of the best. But seriously, today is just John and I, and we're coming your way, and we're thankful that you're joining us today. John, what's going on with you, my man?
Not a whole lot, just a typical week. Went to baseball practice again this morning. It's kind of a little cooler. It's back down in the 40s, and it's a little rainy today, so not the most beautiful day, but you know, I was fine with it. So, yeah, what about you? How was your week?
It's been a great week. You know, for some reason, it's warming up a lot, and especially around the country. So I think yesterday we were in the 40s, and I think today we probably may be hitting up to 50 degrees, but it was raining last night and on and on and on and all of that. So it's just kind of very interesting weather change here. You could tell that, you know, spring is really here, feeling springy, all of that. So that's all that's going on. Coming up in this episode, we have announcements, and we'll be talking about some item that might be of interest to some people, most especially those that would like to type or those that like typing on their phone with the virtual keyboard. That's going to be for you. So that's going to be coming up in the announcement segment. In our Android Basics, we're talking about podcast clients. And I know when it comes to these clients, everyone has their own choice, and I'm glad we have a lot of those things to choose from. In our spotlight, we talk about the One UI7 beta that's now available for the S23 series, as well as Android 16 Beta 3. And to close today's episode, Kareen brings us another entry from the confused screen reader, Jieshuo, aka Joshua. If you're late Austin, that would be what concludes today's episode. And now, the announcement segment. This is a segment dedicated to things we want you to be in the know. And now for this week's episode, here's your announcements. Let's now turn on to the announcement segment. John, we got some announcement here, and it has to do with some typing on the phone. And I was thinking when I was, you know, seeing this thing and wanting to put it through, and I'm beginning to wonder, John, you are male, right?
Well, let's first say what the announcement is. So this is for a study, right?
Yeah.
Google wants a study, and they're asking for female identifying participants who are low vision or blind, right? And it's a keyboard study.
That's right.
And it's an online study, and you will get $100 US for your participation, right?
Yeah, you got $100 for the US participation. And if you're in the UK, you get 80 pounds.
Yeah, and when you first mentioned this announcement to me, I said, I'll identify as female for $100. but seriously, that you know, if you are a lady and you're visually impaired and you want to participate in this study, you know, Google's looking for participation, and there are some financial benefits to it. If you want to look into it, we'll leave the link in the show notes, right?
We'll leave that in the show notes. And here's the details. Length of study is 75 minutes. The dates that are available for the participation covers between March 20th through April the 4th. this study will evaluate the experience of visually uh, impaired, keyboard users, with disabilities, right? So if you're blind or, low vision, you will be asked to share your laptop and phone screens with the researcher. Female identifying participants will be prioritized for this study. So again, if you identify yourself as a female, I'm just trying to use that correct wording of theirs, then you'll be prioritized. And if you're a Samsung user, you will be given priority. So in other words, you just try to be sure that you are female or you identify as female and that you are using a Samsung device. And that's all that it takes. So if you have time between March the 20th and April the 4th, so it could be March 20th, it could be the 21st, could be 25th, whatever, but any day covering between those dates, that's when you'll be participating. And as John indicated, we'll put that in the show notes, the URL from which you can fill out that form and see if you get chosen to be that participant. So help us do that, ladies. We know you guys love us and we love you too. This is something that is going to be beneficial to all of us, especially in Android land, right, John? If we're trying to make typing better, we all complain about how laggy it is sometimes. So maybe, you never know, you guys may be helping us making things better.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics. We now move on to our next segment, and this is the Android Basics. John, today we're talking about podcast clients. And as I indicated at the start of the episode, we have so many of these things. Sometimes it's really hard to know which one to use. Of course, you have to try them to see which one you prefer, or if you listen to us and see what we think we like, maybe you could give it a try and see which of these would be the ones that you like. It's a very subjective subject matter at best when it comes to these things. I can't say, hey, this is the best. John, are you able to say which one is the best? I can't.
I will. I don't know who will agree with me. No, because I see the point you're trying to make. What does best mean? Best for somebody might be simple interface. Best for somebody else might be most customizable. So we just have a lot of options, and what's best for you might not be best for somebody else.
That's the truth. So the whole idea is, what are you looking for in a podcast client? I think for me, one of the things that I look for in a podcast client, does it play both video and audio episodes? That's number one. Number two, does it support chapters? Number three, does it allow me to just stream without downloading? Because, sometimes some of them would not let you play. They want you to download. So if you're a subscriber to several podcast episodes, for example, or whatever, and that means you're going to be downloading a lot. And I know, storage is not what it used to be, where storage was limited. We have bigger storage right now that we have on our phones than ever before. And if you happen to be one of those that have a mid-range phone, it still has an SD card. So one could choose to then download some of these episodes to the SD card. Now, however, I think for me, I just like to stream. But if you're traveling, for example, you don't want to be streaming on your data, right? Unless, of course, you have unlimited mobile data, and then you could do that. But I prefer to just stream mine. How about you, John? Do you like to download yours, or how do you consume your podcast?
I just stream. So, I'm glad. that I can download them. You know, if I'm going on a road trip or going to be on a flight or something like that, I can make sure I have something on device before I leave. But generally, yeah, I don't want them on my device. You know, I just want to. I mean, I'm at home most of the time, and then when I am out, you know, I use such little data that, you know, a podcast isn't gonna like blow through my data like watching a video or something. So yeah, I like just having it on demand. You know, just stream it. You know, it remembers your position as if you had it on device. So yeah, why have it on device if you don't need it?
So let's talk about some of the most popular ones that I think just about everyone knows, John. We've got what we got Pocketcasts, right? It used to be Pocketcasts is my like favorite. But of course, now and then, you know, they break things and
They
um,
do. I mean, and when they break it, they really break it. Like you, I think maybe it was a couple years ago at this point, but at some point you just couldn't interact with it at all. Like Explore by Touch was completely broken,
that was
and
last year.
yeah, it was it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like I had to, I had to like find an older version of it and downgrade just to be able to use it, and so that's frustrating. But when it's working, it's a nice app. It's completely accessible. I'd say it's completely accessible with the exception of that one time they just broke it. But yeah, it generally it's a good app.
Yeah. And I think one thing, though, that I know when that happened last year, and it happened a couple of times last year where they messed up the accessibility. The good thing was that they were quick in responding because I think probably they got a flurry of complaints from those of us who are blind, and it didn't take them time. An update was pushed out that corrected that. So I give it to them, though, that they push out updates really quick when there's an issue, especially with accessibility. I'm glad to know that we have people there that know accessibility or whatever. I think there's still one part of it. I don't remember what part it is. I think it was the filters that was a little bit not accessible, but I think it probably got fixed. Do you mess with the filters, John? And is that fixed? I think it has. I thought I took
I
a look at it, and I
Yeah,
think it was.
I never tried that feature. But yeah, they did fix it pretty quickly. This is why I like to, and I don't think if they have a beta available, I'm not in it. But this is why I like to be in the beta of any app that offers it, because this is the kind of thing I want to report before they release it to everyone else. So that's like where they broke the Explore by Touch. But like you said, it didn't take them maybe a couple weeks to get it fixed. But when that's your routine and you open the app every day and expect it to work, and you're going to go listen to your podcast and all of a sudden you can't, it's disappointing.
Yeah. And so if you're into Pocket Cast, that's something to be careful about because they may break that accessibility, even though they may fix it on later on. So
Yeah,
it's
but
good to have
it
more
was
than
rare.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. To be fair, any app could break accessibility at any point. So we're not
exactly.
talking bad about Pocket Cast specifically. I was just commenting on why I like to be in betas.
And talking about betas, I think my whole entire life lives in a beta because there's hardly any app on my device that is not in the beta. So most of my apps are in a beta. So I like those betas because then you know what's coming on and what's broken, and you report those. Another one, though, John, that we talked about or that we have, and probably we had a little demo of, we got a couple of them. We got the Antennapod, which you happen to be using a lot. I happen to be using that a lot as well. And one of the reasons why I like Antennapod, that chapter support that it has, it's one of my favorite because of that. Pocket Casts has it, but I think you have to subscribe. I don't remember. Yeah, it's like 99 cents a month or something like that. But it also gives you like a cloud access. In other words, you could have like up to 30 gigs of cloud storage, and you're also going to be able to play things or access stuff on your browser, and those are the benefits of the subscription for that Pocketcast. But the Antennapod, was there a subscription, John? I don't remember. Is it like
No, it's free.
yeah?
I think I could be wrong but I don't think you have to subscribe to get. Now it might be different. Actually, I shouldn't. Let me specify because it's a little confusing with Pocket Casts because they had at one time where you could buy the pro version, right? Years ago, before they introduced the subscription model. So
I did.
maybe
And
I'm grandfathered into chapters because of that, because I know I don't pay the monthly subscription and I had access to chapters, but that doesn't mean everybody does. So maybe that's where the discrepancy lies.
yeah,
There.
so we're not very sure because both you and I remember I purchased it back then when it was with the Australian developers, and then they sold it to NPR and all of that. So I had purchased it prior, which was a lifetime, but then the subscription thing came later on, 99 cents. I think you're right. Maybe it supports chapters out of the gate. But if you're wanting to be able to use your browser, for example, sync things on your browser and be able to access some of those features, then you need to have that 99-cent a month subscription.
Yeah, so I'll just while we're talking about Antennapod, so I was using Pocketcasts until you did a demo of Antennapod for the podcast, and then I was like, this sounds interesting. I'm going to try it, and I love it. I have kept using it since then. I haven't gone back to Pocketcasts, and some of the things I like about it are, so it's both, and this is kind of rare sometimes. It's both simple and customizable, meaning the interface is pretty simple, meaning there's not like a whole lot of extra swipes you have to go through when you're swiping between items. It's very basic, but when you go into the settings, there's a lot of things you can change. You can customize, how the home screen displays, whether it's a list, whether it's tiles, how large the tiles are, how many columns there are, that sort of thing. You can choose what's in the menu, whether it shows downloads, subscriptions, episodes, up next. I don't think they call it up next. It's something else, but you can set what your default page is when you first open it. You can set what items are in the menu when you open the menu, or you can set whether you even want to have to open a menu or if you'd rather have tabs across the bottom. So, I just have tabs across the bottom, and I just have a couple tabs, like my home screen, and then just a couple others, and then you can open the menu for settings. So it's very customizable. And like I said earlier, simple. It has the feature you mentioned earlier where you can turn on to only stream. Obviously, you can go in and select an episode and download it if you want to, but it's not going to download anything automatically. And it's got good options as far as playback too. Sometimes, I think this came up recently on the mailing list. If you're an audio ducking user, and I know you aren't, Warren, but I do use audio ducking.
Yeah, I'm not.
And it's nice when it works, but what some apps do, media apps, is they'll pause playback when you get a notification so you can hear your notification. But the problem is that apps that do that also pause playback whenever TalkBack starts talking instead of just lowering the volume like it's supposed to. And this app, I think this does it by default, but you can go in and change the setting. Any app I use, whether it's an audiobook app, a podcast app, anything that plays media, I always make sure there's an option to disable the stop playback for interruptions. It's usually called stop playback for interruptions or stop playback for notifications, something like that. But yeah, there is a setting you can change so that audio ducking works the way it's supposed to.
And I think that's a great app for me. When I'm looking at one of those things, I get an interruption, maybe a call comes through or maybe a notification or whatever. I don't mind too much of the notification, but when I have a call, for example, or you have something, if say you're someone that likes your notifications being read out, for example, I want that thing to pause so that I'm not losing my place. And I like apps that have that, and I know that when we talked about e-readers, the playbooks is one of those, and I really like that feature. And so this is one of the features I like in a podcast that does that, because I don't want the thing to be playing on while I'm trying to listen to something else or a call, and I'm
Yeah.
talking and that thing is playing in the background. It can be very annoying
Yeah.
if you ask me.
So me and you are opposite with this, which is why customization is good, right? You want to be able to
Yeah.
hear things. You want it to stop, and I don't want
Yes.
it to stop, because my use case is I'm usually listening to something and using my phone at the same time. So I'm like navigating around, like I might be listening to something while I'm like looking at my messages. And of course, TalkBack, every time TalkBack talks, I don't want it to stop the playback of my podcast, but that's not how you use yours. It sounds like from what you've described, you're just listening to it, right? And
Yes.
if you get a notification, because you don't have a lot of notifications enabled, the ones that are enabled are important, and you want it to hear what it is, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
You got me, John. That's exactly how I use my podcast clients, and with notifications that I have running that I allowed. Because, I don't allow notifications, but frankly, I will hate for me not being able to have what I'm listening to pause. Because when I'm listening to something, I'm dedicating my time to that, and I don't want the thing to slip away from me, and then I'm trying to rewind or whatever. I hate doing that with a passion, if I may add.
Yeah.
So
It's funny. I don't take podcasts as seriously as you. So when when I'm listening to a
John, are
podcast,
you
it's kind
telling
of
them not to take our podcast seriously?
I'm saying I wouldn't. Like podcasts for me are usually background noise. Well, they're more
Yeah,
than background
I
noise. I'm
understand.
interested in them, obviously, but I don't care if I miss something important. Like if I'm listening to an audiobook, then I definitely don't want to miss anything. I'm
Exactly.
constantly rewinding my audiobooks just because my mind starts wandering. Like even if I'm trying to pay attention and my mind starts wandering, I end up having to rewind my audiobooks, because I don't want to miss anything in an audiobook, but I'm a little more lenient when it comes to podcasts.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, so those are some of the features that I look for if you're me, outside of the ones I mentioned earlier, that is being able to support both audio and video, and also that chapter support and all of that. But then have that ability to pause when some phone call comes in, or some notification is getting read. For example, someone at my door, and I get that a lot. So I don't want, that interruption in there.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I think this only applies to notifications. I think all media always pauses when you get a phone call. At least it should, unless there's something wrong with the app. So yeah, this mainly pertains to notifications.
Yeah.
And of course, using your screen reader, like I mentioned earlier.
Another one that I was using, or I use a lot, and while I don't necessarily use it a lot for its podcasting capability, John, is the AudialsPlay that we also demoed for one of our episodes. And one of the reasons why I like AudialsPlay is the fact that it has a support for, radio stations as well, and as well as, TV stations. And there's a TV station that I like listening to, which is the Newsmax. And it used to be that the app would let you listen, or you could listen on whatever, but now they want you to pay like $5 a month. And so AudialsPlay has that. And I tell you, I couldn't be happier, because now I'm able to listen to Newsmax on my AudialsPlay. And so that's one of those reasons I really like that AudialsPlay. So I use it a lot, and especially because when I need to listen to that Newsmax, then I use that AudialsPlay.
Another one worth mentioning, I don't use it, but I know a lot of people do use it. It's called Podcast Addict. I know that's brought up a lot. Have you ever used that one, Warren?
The Addict, whenever we talk about Addict, I'm looking at Steve Nuts from the UK. He
Yeah.
probably is going to cut my head off. But yeah, so Steve really loves, um, what is it?
Podcast
Podcast
Addict.
Addict. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's good.
I just call it the Addict.
Yeah, it's a good app. It's accessible. I don't have too many complaints about it. I mean, my complaint is that it just feels bloated to me. Like there's too much to it. I kind
It's
of
a
like a
lot.
more simpler interface, but there's nothing wrong with it as far as accessibility, as far as I could tell.
It's a
Um,
great app. I think the when it comes to accessibility, John, the guy is always on top of things. I tried it once, but like you said, I didn't like it. There was just too much in the way of the settings. And if one of you guys want to demo this for our podcast, we'll be more than happy. I've been wanting to do it, but it's kind of too overwhelming, and I just never got to it. And um, if there's another drawback to it, is that it doesn't sync across your devices. I think that's one of the big ones for me, and one of the must-haves for me on a podcast client is that sync capability, being able to sync across those different devices. If it's not syncing across those different devices, is it syncing or is it syncing?
I say syncing.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah. Yeah, so really, that I think that's a big one. But like I said, it just varies from person to person. That may be a non-starter with someone, and to someone else, it's no problem at all. Was there another one, popular one? I know there's Castbox. Of course, the Google podcast died last year, so it's not
Yeah.
even worth a mention. John, is there another one? I'm
Well, a
talking
lot
about
of
the good
people
ones.
use, we should mention it because a lot of people just use Spotify for podcasts, right? I
Oh
mean, you think
yeah,
of it as a music service, but it's one of the leading podcast services as well. So, I mean, I can't comment on it because I don't use it, but have you ever tried it?
no, I don't even use Spotify at all. It's not something that I use. I know both my wife and my daughters, they like Spotify. I just don't. And while you mentioned that, John, TuneIn Radio is also, even though it's a radio app, it also supports
Hmm.
podcasts and
Yeah,
good old,
everybody's doing podcasts these days.
yeah.
I mean, a
Exactly.
lot of people just use YouTube for their podcasts, and YouTube Music, the YouTube Music app does podcasts as well. So, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to listen to podcasts.
Yeah. So when it comes to podcasting client, we have things to choose from. So my recommendation is that, you try them and see which one you like best. Or if you have a preconceived idea as to what you want in a podcast client, like we've just mentioned, if you have those, then you check to see if that particular client supports the items or features that you're looking for. If it doesn't, then get the other one that supports it. And then, of course, for us, that is those of us who are blind, the question of accessibility. It has to be accessible, or else you'll be left in the cold. And a lot of podcast clients out there supports that OPML, you being able to import
Yeah,
subscriptions from
exactly.
another one.
As
And so,
I was
yeah,
going to mention that as well, because don't be afraid. Don't think, oh, well, I already have all my subscriptions here, so I'm kind of stuck. Like, no, you feel free to explore and try something else different because most of these clients we mentioned, if not all of them, do support that. So you're able to export all of your subscriptions to a file and then import it into the new podcast client if you do want to switch.
exactly. And because sometimes some of them are kind of hard to go through the discovery and find what you're looking for. So if you have a client that you have and you're getting a new one, then just export those and then import that. It makes it simple. And you don't have to go through all that, one by one and, resubscribing on that other one.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I like
sure
that.
some of us have a lot of subscriptions, like hundreds probably. If you're a podcast listener for years and years.
Yeah. How many podcasts do you subscribe to, John? I think for me, I think I could count probably, I say maybe about a little over 10. Um, I
Hmm.
think that's what I
I would
have.
say at 10 is probably how many I listen to regularly, but I'm subscribed to a lot. It's probably like over 50. Yeah, I have a lot of podcasts, so
Wow.
that's why I want to make sure to mention to people
that's
that
why
you
you don't
can,
have,
yeah, you don't have to start from scratch. You can, there is a way to import your subscriptions if you have a large collection that you've built up over the years.
and with that many podcast subscriptions that you have, John, definitely I can see why you don't want phone calls pausing. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, if I could, I would listen to my podcast and have a phone call at the same time.
Oh boy. Someone would tell you, I'm glad you're married, because if you're having a news quiz and you have a podcast going on, she probably will be pissed off at you. You're not paying attention, young man.
But she wouldn't know. It would be only in my ears. She wouldn't hear
it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I have like maybe a little over 10. I think probably maybe at the most I have 15. And for example, the AudialsPlay that I mentioned earlier on allows you to have up to 20, because it's one of those apps that is called a freemium. So you don't have ads, but you are limited to the number of podcasts that you can be subscribed to. So I think it allows you to subscribe to up to 20. But if you want more, then you have to have that annual subscription of 99 cents. But 99 cents in a year is better than the 99 cents per month for the Pocketcasts. Welcome to the Spotlight segment. This is a segment dedicated to interviews with developers or interesting happenings in the world of Android. And now for this week's episode, here's your Spotlight. John, let's now turn on to our next segment, and this is the Spotlight. And today we're talking about the Android 16 Beta 3. So if you have a Pixel device from the Pixel 6 up to the Pixel 9 series, you qualify for that beta. If you haven't subscribed or you haven't enrolled rather, and you want to, you could always navigate to the webpage that's going to be in our show notes, and you can enroll your device and be part of the beta. Let's talk about what is new, what's going on here with this Beta 3, John. This has reached that platform stability, as they call it. In other words, all the APIs that were supposed to be introduced have been introduced. And so if anything else that comes, because we got 2 more betas in April and May, and then the final release of Android 16 is going to be in June. So we got 2 more beta phases coming our way. But as for APIs, anything new has been introduced already, and this Beta 3 is the climax of that. And the next 2 will be fixes and things like that, prepping it for that general release to people as Android 16. Right, John?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, here are some of the things that are coming with this Android 16 Beta 3. Battery health. For the time being, this feature is only supported on the Pixel 9 series and the Pixel 8 series. In other words, if you have a Pixel 7 or Pixel 6, for some reason, you don't have that. And John, let's talk about the importance. I know we've mentioned this prior, but I think to me this is huge because, you and I were talking about, if you're selling a device or if someone is buying a device, I would like to know what the battery health is. I was looking at my Pixel 9 XL Pro yesterday, and when did we get those phones? John, you remember you and I did the unboxing? Was that in August or was it early September that I think it was in August, wasn't it?
It was the end of August.
Yeah, it was late August. And so looking at my battery health, mine is at 97%, and it's my main daily driver. I use that daily. And so to have that capability to know how much my battery has degraded to, I like that because it gives me an idea and know what's going on with my battery. Did you look at yours, John?
I didn't know we were going to have to answer personal questions about our battery health, but yeah, I. So my device is newer, but it's still at 100%. I don't use it as my daily driver, so I'd be curious to see what my original Pixel 9 I had would be at now, but yeah, the one I got a couple months ago, the 9 Pro, is still at 100%.
Yeah, and that's because you don't use it as your daily driver. So I've been using mine since late August. So at 97, I think that's damn good, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not bad. I mean, these Pixels did previously. Now, when was it? It wasn't introduced too long ago. Maybe it was in Android 15. They did start showing battery cycles, so how many charge cycles you've been through on a phone, which is a way of telling how old the battery is and how used the device is. But I think using battery health is much better. It's something people understand a lot more than how many charge cycles it's been through, right? Especially if you're trying to sell the thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I don't want to buy something that has the battery health is 42%. That means you're going to
Oh
be
my gosh.
hitting
I don't want to
the
buy something that
charger.
has 80% battery health.
Oh, I wouldn't mind buying something with 80%. I think that's
Well, it
decent.
depends on the price, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But this is the point. You can price accordingly, right? If you know
Hmm.
the health of something, you know how much to try to sell it for, or you know how much you're willing to spend for it.
And that's if the person is honest, but and if I'm going to be buying your stuff, I'm going to be asking, hey, what's the battery health on that baby, right? So,
Hmm.
I know I want to know what I'm dealing with. So I think it's a good thing, and I just wish that it will trickle down to the other older devices because it's very important. Yeah, you have it on the 9 and 8, but what about the 6 and 7? We'd love to see that come down to those, but this is all
The
software. They should be able to do this.
the 6 and 7's battery health is so low, they were too embarrassed. They said, we don't want that feature. We don't
Yeah,
want anybody seeing our battery health.
I know. Isn't that something? Okay, let's look at the next one, John. The expansion of Auracast on Pixel 9 for hearing aid devices. This has to do with support for Bluetooth LE, audio enhanced hearing aid devices. So I think this is good for our friends that are hard of hearing. I have never tried to see how that thing works, but at least it's being expanded and enhanced. And if you're someone with hard of hearing or that are hard of hearing, and you find yourself maybe at an airport or whatever, you could use your device and be able to hear it better. So I don't know how it works. I've never tried it. Have you ever tried it, John?
I haven't tried it with the hearing aid, but I did try the Orcast. Well, I don't know if I've tried it on Pixel. I know I've tried it on my Samsung phone and it was kind of clunky, but yeah, I haven't tried it.
Yeah, at least it's there for people who would like to use it. Next, we have outline text. This is an accessibility enhancement intended for those with low vision users. That is, if you're a low vision user, John, you use that sometimes. This is an improved readability wherein a high contrast outline around the text makes it stand out from the background. So I think this is a good thing. If someone likes that type of thing, I know there are some amongst us that use, contrast, outline or text contrast and all of that. So I think this will make sense for them. Maybe when you have some time, you could try it and see how it is, if
Yeah.
it's any different from what it is. But, if there's some distinguishing thing that sets it apart, so it makes it easy to see as to what the background is, I think that's a good improvement.
Yeah, so I'm curious how this is different from high contrast text. I'll have to look into it. But yeah, any contrast, the more contrast, the better. I mean, I'm beyond the point of being able to read anything, but just to see where text is located on the page does help some of us, just to orient ourselves and know, where to put the talkback focus and that sort of thing.
It's a good thing. I hope it works. The next one is general improvements. This addresses some known issues reported in previous beta versions, where issues like excessive overheating, battery drain, and random reboots on certain Pixel models. So those are some of those improvements. And outside of that, that's what we have that's most important with this beta 3 of Android 16.
And I just wanted to mention, a friend of mine had upgraded to this and had a weird issue where for TalkBack, after the update was installed, Explore by Touch wasn't working at all. So he couldn't explore his screen. He had to use TalkBack gestures or swipe between items for everything, and he couldn't get it to work. He had to he restarted his phone, and it still came up not working. And I told him to try clearing the app data for TalkBack, and that that did the trick for him. So if you are experiencing something similar with Explore by Touch being broken for some reason when you update to this, go ahead and try to clear the data for Android Accessibility Suite. And of course, you'll lose all your settings and stuff, but if that's what you have to do to get it working again, then give it a shot.
Well, I would rather lose my settings than have a device that's not working right.
Now I know you enjoy reformatting your phone, but when he brought this up to me, he was about to reformat he was about to factory reset his phone. Yeah. And I was like, before you reset it, just try clearing the data first, because it's much easier just to set up your TalkBack settings than to set up your whole phone. So luckily that did the trick.
Yeah, so for me, of course, I'm going to reset. I don't see any problems right now, but being true to my doctrine, when we're done with this podcast, I will definitely reset my device. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. That's why my devices, I never encounter. Seldom I have a problem. Yeah. If I have a problem, then it's a bug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I didn't run into this specific issue either. Mine seems to be working fine, but I figured I'd mention it in case anybody else runs into it.
Good observation. Next, talking about the new update to the S23 series. For example, if you have the S23 series and you're here in the States, One UI7 beta for the S23 series is here with us. And of course, I couldn't wait to get mine enrolled. And then I got infuriated, John. I was really pissed off because Samsung, for some reason, will not let you join or enroll the beta if you do not have a SIM card in it. And of course, my S23 Plus is not my main driver. I don't have any SIM card in it. It's like a media device. And I was kind of surprised. I kept trying, and it kept saying that, oh, the software on my whatever, the SIM card is not whatever, or maybe I must have changed to another country or whatever. And you know what? I reset my device, thinking maybe when I tried it with a German SIM card one time, that's what messed it up or whatever. And I brought it back up, and I was still getting the same, error. And so I scoured the internet and found out that you need a SIM card regardless of, what it is. And so I grabbed my daughter's old ATT SIM card, put it in there, hit enroll, and boom, there we are. Now, John, why in the name of Sam Hill is Samsung doing that? Are they trying to tie my damn phone to ATT? Or what's the deal?
They're just bad at betas. I mean, that Google has the process down so much better. You mentioned you needed a SIM card to even get it activated, but over the winter, when I was using my S24 Ultra in the beta, I had switched my SIM card. So the beta was active, and I switched my SIM card to my OnePlus that I got. And it was an eSIM, so I transferred it and I just disabled the old eSIM. Then when I went, and I don't remember if it had no eSIM in or if I might have put like a burner SIM, my other SIM in that phone just to have a number. But whatever I did, I changed the SIM card and I tried to go report some feedback and I could not get into the Samsung members app. It says you can't report on the beta because your SIM card has changed. And I'm like, are you serious? So I did like you said, scoured the internet and I found a Reddit thread that was mentioning how to get out of this. And I actually had to like go on the Samsung community, find a Samsung moderator, and send them a private message telling them my issue, giving them my IMEI, and asking them to reactivate my phone for the beta program just to submit feedback.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like you said, I don't think Samsung gets the concept of betas done right. And I think Jerry from our Telegram group was saying that when he was finally able to get in, they were telling him it was full. Now, see, with Google, they don't care how many. If you want it, you're welcome to it. So, frankly, when it comes to betas, I think Google does it better than Samsung.
Let people, it's their device. Let them use the beta and give you feedback if you want your product to be better. The more feedback, the better, right? I mean, that's the way I see it. And
that's
also just to warn people if they're planning on getting into the Samsung beta. I know we've mentioned this in previous episodes, but it's not like a Pixel where you just opt out and then factory reset your phone and set it up again. With a Samsung phone, if you opt out of the beta, you have to connect it to a computer and use their Samsung switch or smart switch for Windows software that's not even accessible to connect your phone direct wired connection to the computer and reinstall the stable version that way. So yeah, if you're kind of stuck if you get into the beta here. You'd need some sighted assistance if you wanted to get out of the beta. So yeah, it's a mess on Samsung. Google definitely does it right.
Yeah. So frankly, if you only have one phone and you're not ready to put up with some of the drawbacks or the issues that are there, for example, we've talked about those to death here. Most especially the fingerprint you are talking about, John. You touching above the key, the fingerprint reader, and it's telling you to move up. When it's down. Issues like that, and then if you're not into wanting things of that nature, then probably you shouldn't sign up for the beta. But if not,
although to be fair, they released that in the stable version too.
Okay,
I mean, One UI7 is just a mess. I mean, it's a mess. They did not do a good job this year, but it's there if you want to grab it. And also, I don't know if we mentioned it last week, but it was either last week or week before. It was made available also to the Fold 6 or the Flip 6. So if you have one of those foldables, you're also now eligible for this, assuming it's not full, right? Assuming they don't have all the beta testers they want.
Yeah, exactly. Samsung, we're looking at you. I think your beta system is bad. I mean, you should take something from Google's playbook and learn how to do betas better. Because with Google, you don't even need a damn phone to sign up from the phone. You can just go to the browser and plug in the phone. Or you don't even need to plug in the phone. What am I talking about? That's the developer preview that you do that, or else you just sign up on any browser, choose the phone, the device that you want, and it just pushes this out to you on OTA or over the air. So frankly, Google has something going right here that Samsung should be learning from, and I don't know why they're doing that. And John, you mentioned should you find out that you don't want it, with Google, it's simple as 1 2 3, go back to that browser and tap unenroll, and you're back to your stable version. It may erase your whatever, reset your device, but at least you're going to get your previous iteration of the OS back without monkeying around with an inaccessible software of some sort on the computer trying to do that. I think Samsung needs to learn something from Google.
Yeah, I agree.
And now, Jieshuo, aka Commentary Screen Reader, CSR, or if you're me, the Confused Screen Reader. This is a segment dedicated to this great popular screen reader where we show you some new feature or some feature that we believe you should be in the know of. And now, for this episode, here's your entry for Jieshuo, aka Commentary Screen Reader. And now, to close today's episode, here's our CSR, the Confused Screen Reader, Jieshuo, aka Joshua. Kareen brings us another entry, and this is simply called Translation. Here's Kareen now to show you that feature of the Confused Screen Reader.
Translation feature is one of the popular features of the Jieshuo screen reader. I personally use it a lot. It's a convenient way to translate between languages. You set the source language and the target language. Also, you can set the source language to automatic. There are several methods that you can use to do the translations. The translations are performed online. You can also use the automatic translation function, which is a paid feature available only in the Pro version. The automatic translation translates the text of the source language automatically to the target language that you have specified in settings. Let's see the translation related settings and functions. First of all, I will test the automatic translation function. It's a function, so it's in the main menu. You can activate it through the voice assistant. Also, you can assign a gesture to it. I'll open the What's New section, which is available in the help and feedback, because the changelog is always written in Chinese.
Main menu.
And I have set the source language to Chinese.
Screen reader settings. Jieshuo Plus. Download additional resources.
So first I'll enable the automatic translation, which will be active until I disable it using the same function or until Jieshuo is restarted. I'll enable it using the voice assistant. Automatic translation.
Enabled automatic translation. Accessibility settings. User center. Help and feedback.
So I'm using swiping to move between items.
Help and feedback. Navigate up button. Help and feedback. Enable login tap OK. Enable login guncheck. Send the debug logs. Delete all logs.
I will go now to the What's New.
Help screen. What's new?
Jieshuo.
Update log. Commentary internal beta version optimizes power consumption and fluency, increases input method keyboard display and hidden sound effects, repairs conflicts
And
between
swipe.
Commentary 20,250,128. Fix the problem of resource download not being used.
Again.
Commentary 20,250,124. Add the function of clicking and pressing to ask the focus. Advanced settings. Voice assistant settings. Add the use of character statistics.
Alright, so actually the texts are in Chinese, but it's performing the automatic translation. I'll now disable the function. Automatic translation.
Disabled automatic translation.
So these are the texts.
Jieshuo 20,250,124.
The Google Arabic voice recognizes the Chinese text, so for this reason I can hear the texts. Now, if I want to perform manual translation, I personally prefer the manual translation over the automatic translation because Jieshuo is more responsive when automatic translation is disabled. The first method is the translation function. It's in the main menu, can be assigned to gestures, and can be activated via the voice assistant. I will again open the screen reader settings.
Main menu. Screen reader settings. Jieshuo Plus.
And I'll go to the feedback settings.
Feedback settings. Feedback settings. Sound scheme settings. Sounds 2. Sounds 2.
And the sound scheme settings, these are the settings related to the sound scheme that I'm using. 2 new sound effects have been added recently. They are still in Chinese. The first one is when the keyword is shown, and the other one is when the keyword is closed or hidden.
Clear all notifications.
This is the first one. It's now focused. I'll use the translation function. I'll again use the voice assistant. Translation.
The keyboard has been displayed.
This is the translation. It read it automatically. Now for the second sound effect, which is related to closing the keyword, I will use the second method, which is by using the navigation types. So you add OCR and translation as a navigation type. The gesture which is used to move to the next item in the navigation type that you have selected or to increase is used to perform the translation, and the other gesture, which is to decrease or to move to the previous, is used to perform the OCR, but OCR is a paid feature, so you can only translate if you are using the free version. So now I'm using the Global Alternative Navigation 2 method. In this method, I use swiping up and then down or down then up to move between the navigation types, and swiping down to perform the translation, swiping up to perform the OCR. I focused the second item now, and I'll select OCR and translation as the navigation type.
OCR and translation.
And I'll swipe down.
The keyboard has been closed.
There is another function which is called also translation, but it's found in the recognition menu. Recognition menu is found in the main menu and is found in the functions menu. The difference between the translation function that I talked about before and this one is that when you do translations using this one, the translations will be copied. To enable copying the translation results, when using the other function, you have to enable the automatic copying of translations from settings. We will talk about settings later. If you perform the translation using the translation function found in the recognition menu, which also copies the translation results, you usually end up with the message copied to clipboard interrupting the translation. But of course, you can go to the clipboard history and review the translation.
Functions menu. Recognition menu button. Recognition menu.
Recognition menu from the functions menu, and it's the first item.
Recognition menu. Translation.
Translation. You have 2 places where you can find translation results. In the recognition results, which is found in the recognition menu, and in the chat history, which is a function. And you can find it in the voice assistant and translation settings. So it depends on the way that you have used to perform the translation. So if you translate using the OCR and translation navigation type, you will find the translation results in the recognition results, in the recognition menu.
Functions menu. Recognition menu button. Recognition. Slider. Recognition results. Sounds. Recognition results. Recognition results. The keyboard has been closed. Clear button.
So only it showed me the keyboard has been closed, which is the translation result of the translation that I did using the OCR translation navigation tag. If I want to see the translation result of the translations that I do using the translation function, I have to go to the chat history. So I'd open chat history. Chat history.
Chat history. Text box. Chat history. The keyboard has been displayed.
Let's go now to the settings to see what we have. I'll go to advanced settings.
Advanced settings. Advanced settings.
And then
Voice assistant and translation settings.
voice assistant and translation settings.
Voice assistant and translation settings. Chat history.
This is chat history.
Switch to text for voice assistant. Speed. Voice command. Super voice command. Voice assistant capable. Automatically copy translation results to the clipboard unchecked.
This is the first setting related to translation, which is to enable the automatic copying of the translation results to the clipboard when I'm using the translation function. I mean, of course, the main translation function, which is found in the main menu.
Source language Chinese.
Source language. Here you can set the source language, which is the language that you translate from. You can, of course, set it to automatic or to one of the available languages.
Source language. Source language. Chinese checked. Automatic unchecked.
The first item is automatic. Although there are many languages here, but there is no search. So it's not easy to go through the list to find the language that you want. So the easiest method to perform a search is by using list browsing. I'll just focus one of the languages.
Automatic unchecked.
So I'll focus the automatic item, for example, and I'll open list browsing. By default, the gesture to open list browsing is swiping right, then down.
List browsing. Source language.
I'll now use the search function available in the list browsing.
Source language. Automatic. Korean. Enter keyword text box.
I'll type, for example, Arabic.
A. Alpha. R. Third. 2 result. I. India. C. 1 result. 1 results. Browse by touch resumed. Arabic. Arabic. Arabic.
Above the keyword, it showed me the matching text. Since Arabic is on the same screen, I was able to find it quickly. But if it's not, I can use
Scroll forward button.
Scroll forward to let it scroll, and it will keep scrolling until either reaching the end or finding an item, a matching item. And I can use
Scroll back button unavailable.
Scroll back, and now it's unavailable because I'm already at the beginning of the list.
Arabic.
So if I double tap the Arabic item, it will be activated, so it will be using the Arabic as the source language. I don't want to change it now. I'll go back.
Voice assistant and translation settings.
And I'll see the other available settings.
Target language English.
Target language, which is the language that you translate to. I have set it to English. Here also you can use list browsing to try to find languages quickly.
Use a custom translation engine unchecked.
If you want to use a custom translation engine, you should enter the related data here.
Edit custom translation engine.
These are the translation related settings. Since we are in settings, I'll just show you quickly how to add the OCR and translation to navigation types.
Jieshuo. Feedback settings. Operation settings.
You go to operation settings.
Operation settings. Gesture scheme custom. Gestures default settings. Manage settings related to gesture default behaviors and options.
Gestures default settings.
Gestures default settings. Default. Customize web page element navigation default headings links button. Customize standard view element navigation default buttons text box.
One is for web views and one is for non-web views. You just select OCR and translation. You check it. Then you tap OK to save. and you select the preferred navigation style in
Default navigation gestures style global alternative granularity navigation 2.
I already demonstrated the navigation types selection before, but this is just a quick reminder. I hope that my demonstration was clear enough. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kareen. Even though you're not here with us today, we miss you and we hope you're having a great time in Lebanon. All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us. And with that, folks, we come to the end of this week's episode. As always, John is standing by to give you information on how you can get hold of us. Should you have a suggestion or some complaint or whatever, feel free to send us those things and we'll be getting back with you. Here's John now to give you that information on how you can get hold of us. John?
To contact us, simply send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. If you'd prefer, you can leave a voicemail by calling +1 307 202 9797. You can join our mailing list by sending a blank email to blindandroidusers+subscribe@groups.io. You can join our Facebook and Telegram groups or subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links in the podcast show notes or YouTube video description. And you can find all of this information and more at our website, blindandroidusers.com.
Thank you so much, John. And folks, that's how you get hold of us. And with that, though, we come to today's end of the episode. And I just want to say goodbye from my end. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys next week, God willing. Again, thank you so much for listening and see you next week.
Have a great week. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.